Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and today we're not just going to look at a fountain pen. We're going to have to put it back together. I've taken my pen apart. This is the Caliarts Ego, or at least a couple of the parts of a Caliarts Ego, and we are going to look at how this pen goes back together, how to fill a piston filler pen, and we're going to see, is this pen any good and does it write well? So let's flip that camera and dive right in. Oh no. This isn't exactly the way I was hoping this would go. Sometimes you take a pen apart and then you wonder, now how does this go back together again? Now this is just me having to transfer all the parts from one table to another as I got this set up. Let me do a little bit of video magic and fix this right quick. There, now don't you feel better? I know I do. Everything's laid out nice and in order, and now I know where everything is, and I'd feel much better about this than the pile. This is the Caliarts Ego disassembled, and it is a fairly easy pen to disassemble, much in the same way as the TWSBI Eco is an easy maintenance pen, and that won't be the only similarity that you'll find between these pens, although I am not in the camp that thinks this is just a total copy, because stylistically they are quite different, but mechanically the same idea, as is this piston, this piston, and that piston filler pen all over the place. So, you know, whatever. Anyway, this pen should be fairly easy to assemble back into its pen hood. So we're going to do that. I'm going to show you where they recommend you to put the grease, and then we'll take a look at how the assembled pen looks here in a second. Let's start where it's really easy. The cap. You put the clip back on, and the finial, which is just clear acrylic, screws on. No, nothing difficult there. Boy, you already feel like it's some accomplishment, right? We got something done. Let's go with the nib next, which I don't know that they're necessarily identical, but they might be. This reminds me so much of the Wingsung pilot style nibs. That's where I would see the similarity of this pen more than the other. So that will just twist back in there. Yeah, that feels good and secure. Okay, and then next would be, oh, let me just say this first. This pen actually comes with 2 feeds and nibs. This is an extra fine that is included with it as well, and that's always a nice, well, I would say bonus, but you know, it's not like I didn't pay for it, so it's not entirely bonus, but a nice feature. Let's call it that. All right, next, let's do this. We will put some fresh silicone grease, and it says to put it right there, so we're going to put it right there. It does not, in the instructions, say anything about whether or not you should put it here on the threads. If you have a TWSBI 580, you put silicone there, and some other pens as well, or silicone grease rather. But this pen didn't say. Okay, so then after we have that silicone greased up, you will take this and you will screw the end on here, and then you want to back it back up again when you're putting this in. You just back this up, and then we will put this on the pen. This needs to be, oops, enough that can get the wrench in right there. Remember, that goes the opposite of what you would think. If you're looking at it toward the piston knob from the nib, then it'll make the righty-tighty, lefty-loosey make sense. Otherwise, you're going to think it's backwards. That's how that works. Then, don't over-tighten. You don't want to crack it. It has a seal. Check it to work. Yes, when it's tightened down, this should be at the top. And of course, vice versa. So there you go. Now you have a complete working Caliarts Ego. Just like that. That wasn't hard, was it? Okay, so this is the Caliarts Ego as it would come to you if you ordered one. It comes in this little metal case, and very familiar for those of you who bought pens from China. That comes from a few different companies, but this one has, boy, that bright green foam. That'll make your day happy, won't it? St. Patty's Day is what that reminds me of. Okay, this comes again with extra feed and an extra fine nib. I've actually not tried this, so I cannot speak to how well this nib does or does not function. I don't use extra fine very often. If you know, if you have one of these pens, leave a comment, and I'm sure there will be other users that will appreciate that. So the pen comes to you like this. Isn't that all nice and clean now? Look at that. And it comes with that wrench that I used just a moment ago, and with 2 extra rings so you can replace these, and so that's really nice. That doesn't happen very often. I think this is the only pen I've ever gotten that does that. When you pull the pen out, then, whoa, I don't think I got that finial on there as tightly as I should have. There we go. You'll notice that it almost looks like there's another pin in there. That is your set of instructions, which will tell you on the back, kind of a cool graphic there, I think. It will well, I can't get it out right now, but it will tell you on the back where to apply the silicone grease. So there is that. Okay, so there's your box. Those who like a box, this one's actually interesting because it comes with some parts. Always cool. I mentioned that a lot of people, maybe yourself, will compare this pen to the TWSBI Eco. And certainly when it comes to how the pen functions and fills, well, they use a very similar piston mechanism, not identical. It's not like there are no other pens beside the Eco that are piston fillers, but it's similar in dimensions, and I'm sure it may have been inspired by, but it's not an identical pen. There are rip-offs of this pen. They are out there. This one is at least different enough not to be a duplicate or anything like that. Probably this is the section that looks the most the same, the grip section, and the way that this is constructed just right here in the O-ring. Those are similar. Very, very different pens in other ways, and to me, look and feel and the way they write is very different. This has that Jowo nib, which I do think is the better nib of the two, and overall the better pen. But this does give you a lot of bang for the buck. I think I paid $10 for this pen, and that has been a while. I will check and put a link below so that you can get an up-to-date price, but that's what I paid for this quite a while back. This pen's been out for a few years, and a lot of you probably are already quite familiar with it. Really, the only thing style-wise to me that I'm kind of a little bit on the fence would be that the looks of the clip. Functionally, this is a great clip. That extra exaggerated bend makes it easy to clip on a notebook or paper or a pocket or whatever in a pen case. But when it's not clipped to something, that's just kind of funny. Anyway, it doesn't really detract that badly from the pen. It does at least differentiate it from the other pen to which it is often compared. Anywho, other than that, you've got that pilot style, seems to me, or wing sung pilot style nib. There may be a connection there. I don't know. Clear plastic feed, and that too seems. I would say it's if you've used a wing sung like this is what it reminds me a lot of, is the wing sung Prera like pen. You notice how similar those are in the nib and in the plastic feed. In fact, the ink that was in this pen is now in this pen. That's why I have it out. But very similar in the way that they write as well, although I think that wing sung actually has just slight advantage on smoothness with this particular pen. And like I said, I haven't tried the extra fine. Let's now demonstrate filling this pen with ink. Okay, so what you'll do is make sure that you get that far enough down into the bottle that you don't have to worry about it getting air instead of ink, and then you simply turn that knob. This doesn't have a notch or anything. Turn that knob, push that piston down, bring that back up, and there you go. Now I'm not going to bother to try and fill it all the way up. This is as much ink as I actually want in this pen for now, so that actually works. If you want to get an absolutely full fill, then you would just do that another time or two and see just what the maximum that you might be able to get in there is. Now, I'm going to clean this up and let's see how the pen writes. Okay, let's see how this pen writes. It does not post, by the way, just so you know. But it is a good length for a pen, and so not really that big a problem. So this is the Caliarts Ego, and let's be honest. Naming it the Ego may be the reason it gets all of those eco references. You know, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot when you don't get creative with the name. You know, that's something. So anyway, this is a fine, and it is just a pilot or wing-sung style steel nib. This ink is the BPC, Birmingham Pen Company, and this is hot rolled steel. Gotta be honest, I said hot rolled, and my first thing I thought of was good hot rolls. My daughters make some awesome homemade hot rolls and butter, and yeah, I just had a sandwich, but you wouldn't think so. I heard the words hot rolled come out of my mouth, and man, that was a good supper the other night. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes. I can't talk. Let's see what we want to do here. I'm going to be quiet, let you hear how this writes. This is rhodia paper. See if we can do that better. I think this pen writes pretty well. There is just a little bit of feedback you can probably hear. It is not much. There's a little bit of actual feel type feedback, not just oral feedback. And I would say like a light pencil-y feedback, not in a bad way. I don't think in a bad way at all. I'm going to write today's quote. I like this. Okay, so what do I like about this pen? What do I not like? I'm going to say what I like. It's a nice pen for the money. A $10 demonstrator pen that is a piston filler that holds really quite a good amount of ink. There's actually a good amount of ink in there, even though I didn't get but maybe half of a fill just on the first try. I like the quality. It seems really well put together for a pen in this price point, and you know, I've had this for over a year, no issues whatsoever with reliability, dry outs, cracking, nothing, no problems. So really reliable pen. What do I not like? There's really not anything I don't like. I will say this: the nib is not a standout nib, but the nib is. There are options out there, I guess, but it's just a middle of the road nib. It's not bad. It's not earth-shatteringly great either. It's just a good, reliable, good writing nib with a little bit of feedback. Not bad feedback, but a little bit of feedback. So on that, I would just say, you know, if you're looking for, you know, a knock your socks off nib, it's not going to be that. If you're looking for an affordable workhorse pen that holds a lot of ink and is easy to fill from a bottle and I think pretty easy to clean and maintain, and even comes with extra O-rings and an extra nib to give you options, then I think that's great. So that's really going to depend on what you're looking for and what you like. But there you go. That's the Caliarts Ego. It's been a good pen. God bless you. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video.